You for being so patient and for joining us. And now we will hear our welcome from our board president, Fiona Oliphant.
Thank you, Lucane, and welcome everyone to MNADB's 2022 annual meeting and awards ceremony. We'd like to start today's festivities with a land acknowledgement. We are gathered here today on Turtle Island, the indigenous term for the North American continent. We are convening on the ancestral land of the Piscataway elders, ancestors who were displaced from this land. We acknowledge and honor the legacy of the Piscataway people. Beyond this acknowledgement, we encourage you to take concrete steps to stand with and support Indigenous communities. We also acknowledge that the state of Maryland does not exist independently from centuries of forced labor and enslavement of African Americans, Chinese railroad workers, the prison industrial complex, migrant workers, and sweatshop labor. As I said, I wanted to thank you, and Lucane said we wanted to thank you for joining us to celebrate all of the domestic violence service providers throughout the state, the nominees, and the awardees. I have been involved with the coalition in some shape or fashion, either working with a member program or serving on the board for, I'd say, almost a decade at this point. And I'm never surprised by the passion, dedication, and perseverance of all of the service providers, you all, and the work that you do. And I don't think we do it enough in terms of celebrating you and celebrating your work, but today is an effort to lift up your work, to lift up your organizations, and to lift up the importance of providing adequate, equitable services for those who are experiencing domestic violence in the state. And I don't want to take away too much time from that celebration. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Jen.
I have to unmute. Thank you, Fiona, so much. I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. I'm honored to be with you this afternoon. And I feel a little funny that I'm your featured keynote speaker, but I just really wanted to take the chance to share with you about the work of the coalition. You know, many of you have known me for a long time, and for others, it might be the first time that you've heard from me directly. And you might be wondering, well, why now? You've been at the coalition for a little more than 2 years. Why are we hearing a more formal address from you now, right? And the simple answer is it's time. It's time. I joined MNADB as an interim executive director in June of 2020, and then was appointed to the position permanently in November of 2021. So technically, this is my first annual meeting where I am the official ED, and I'm really excited to be with you here in that capacity. We've done a lot of work behind the scenes since 2020, and I thought it was time to share more about what we've accomplished and what we plan to do in this coming year. There is so much to tell you about the work of the coalition over the past few years, and I actually wanted to start by telling you a little bit more about me and why it is that I'm so honored to be serving as the executive director of MNADV. So some of you know that right prior to coming to MNADV, I served at HopeWorks of Howard County as their executive director for about 8 years. And I loved my time at HopeWorks. Direct victim services is the hardest job. Between never-ending client needs and staffing needs, funder demands, and inadequate resources, really every day felt like just a little victory to get through. And as hard as it was, it has its own joy, its own sense of satisfaction that you are on the ground trying to improve the system response for survivors, trying to create a new space in the world that authentically reflects our values of worth, dignity, and safety for every person. You know, I don't have to tell you that there's magic in that. If you've ever done direct services, you know the sacredness of what we do and the joy that exists in holding space while someone heals. It's amazing. And I will carry that experience with me always, and it keeps me connected to the local domestic violence programs that we serve at the Coalition. Now, before HopeWorks, I worked at the Office of Victim Services in Washington, D.C., where I was the VAWA administrator for the district. Our office was very much like the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention, Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services for Maryland. And I learned a lot in being in the funder role, how the monies all work, federal and district funding kind of puzzle pieced together to support a safety net of services. I learned how to streamline and simplify grant award processes, how to partner with service providers to make sure that victim survivors got the best support the district had to offer. But ultimately, I realized government is not for me. I'm a nonprofit girl, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot from that position that I bring with me to the Coalition. And of course, those who know me from back in the day know I was the executive director of Maryland's Sexual Assault Coalition, MCASA, for about 7 years in the early 2000s. What you might not know is that I actually used to be a program manager here at MNADV back when I was just a little baby advocate fresh out of grad school. I was a diversity specialist and helped programs get TTY machines and establish the Language Line program that still exists today, along with a lot of training in TA. So I say all this to tell you that being at MNADV is full circle for me. I'm back at this agency 20 years older, and I hope 20 years wiser than the first time, and still awed by the power of our field and the work that we do together. I'm invested, people. I'm committed, and I know that you are too. And that is why I'm so excited to be in this role as executive director. So for the past 2 years of my time back at the network, my focus has really been on stabilization and renewal. It's not unexpected that an agency that's had 4 executive directors in as many years has had some soul searching to do. We had to dig deep and ask ourselves in the field, how are we doing? What aren't we doing that we should be? What has passed that we need to let go of? What requires re-examination and reinvigoration? And I want to thank every one of you who was willing to have those candid and hard conversations about your dreams for the network and how we have not always lived up to those expectations. This was a process that was so instructive for us and essential to directing us towards future possibilities for the Coalition. Throughout that process, I was and still am just amazed and honored by how much people want the Coalition to grow and thrive and be a strong advocate for our field and the survivors you serve. You guys stuck with us, and we needed that. Thank you. So we took these past 2 years to take inventory of all of our internal systems. I mean, from timesheets to grant codes to phone trees and bylaws and more, we essentially left no stone unturned. We wanted to be sure that all of our systems were following best practices and working well before launching into new endeavors. Have you ever heard the phrase, you have to go slow to go fast? Well, that's the philosophy we've taken. Let's renew ourselves operationally first so that we know we have the capacity to take on big things in the future. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We had a lot to do, and there's always that pesky little thing that's still on the back burner there, poking at you. And I'll admit, you know, from time to time, I'd get frustrated by the slower than desired pace. But we had to make sure we are on solid ground before we could launch into new possibilities. So just 2 more things about the past 2 years before I share more about what's on the horizon. We invested in our staff. We raised salaries, taking time to readjust so that there was equity in our salary structure. We updated our employee handbook, utilizing equity, inclusion, and diversity principles. We worked and continue to work towards a culture of open communication and true teamwork. We launched an employee appraisal process that focuses on employee strengths and professional development. And we hired staff, great staff. I am so very proud of our M&A-DV team. I'm so proud of our team and confident in their knowledge and expertise, and I want you to know who they are too. Ideally, the field knows our team, and you feel like you can contact them directly. I don't want to be a gatekeeper. We want to have a no wrong door approach to our work so that whomever you're talking to, whoever you contact, you can be assured that the staff will follow up and that your needs will be responded to. The other notable thing in this past couple years, is that we have chosen to keep our office virtual on a permanent basis. This opens up so many possibilities for us. It allowed us to hire and retain top-notch staff who are not necessarily local. It's allowed us to save money that we can put back into programming. And most importantly, our virtual meetings and work groups and trainings have seen a tremendous boost in attendance and participation because folks from all over the state can attend without having to travel. So as a statewide organization, we can't ignore this unexpected silver lining from the pandemic. So we decided to lean in. Now, we haven't gotten rid of our footprint entirely, but we have downsized to a small executive suite in Annapolis versus a 3,000 plus office suite that was empty in Lanham. So our new location keeps us central to the state. It's got easy access off of Route 50 and brings us to Annapolis, where the bulk of our in-person work is still happening. So yes, it's been a busy last 2 years, and I have to give a shout out to the staff and the board who have been down with all these changes. Everyone has rolled up their sleeves and contributed to our stabilization and growth. Everyone has been willing to be critically introspective and do new things. And I assure you, this has not been a one-woman show. I'll say it again. We have an amazing team, board and staff. And each one of you who have engaged with us over the past 2 years have also contributed to our evolution. Your training evaluations, your requests for technical assistance, your willingness to sit on committees or have candid conversations about what our field needs and deserves have all helped us find our footing, and we are very grateful. Okay, so I'm going to move on to what's coming and not dwell on what's past. We learn from our past, but we have to look forward if we're going to get there, right? So I want to tell you just a little bit about what's coming up in the next year or so. Our public policy advocacy. You've seen us renew our public policy advocacy over the last 2 years, and we've had a lot of success in reestablishing our influence in Annapolis. We will continue to use our anti-oppression and intersectional lens as we advocate for survivors of intimate partner violence and the programs that serve them. We have a full agenda for the upcoming legislative session that's been crafted with input from the board and the field at large. This new year will be more transparent communication on how we make our legislative and policy decisions. And we promise more opportunities for folks from the field to participate in formulating our legislative priorities. We are moving towards a day where we can have direct survivor feedback to help set our direction and grassroots mobilization to help us achieve our public policy goals. Now, we're not quite there yet. We're starting with our transparent communications, but that's where we're going. That's where we're headed. Training and technical assistance. Our training actually has been going gangbusters for the past 2 years, but we know that folks continue to need easy access to training and support. So we've invested in a new online training platform and are in the process of converting some of our trainings to an online self-paced model so that advocates can get trained when they have time available, not just when we offer the trainings. So if you don't know, we offer a variety of trainings based on what we hear from the field and we know is needed. But you can always contact us directly. We are happy to develop something specific for your program. So give us a call and let us know what your training needs might be, and look for our self-paced trainings a little later this year. We also have provided a ton of technical assistance to folks in the field and the general public. We've seen our requests for TA increase substantially over the past 2 years, as I'm sure requests for your services have also increased immensely in the past 2 years. And we always love to hear from you about where you're stuck and how we can be of assistance, unsticking you. Trust me, if you're stuck, you are not alone, and you can bet that someone else or another program has had the same question. So please don't hesitate to ask. TA is one of our favorite things to do. We're thrilled to continue our technical assistance, and this year we'll have a particular focus around economic abuse through our partnership with the Allstate Foundation. This year, we've been able to increase our support for local domestic violence service providers from 2 programs to 4 in terms of implementing the Moving Ahead Economic Empowerment Curriculum. And we've developed our partnership with the Community Credit Counseling Services of Maryland. That's a mouthful, but really important when it comes to helping survivors get back on solid financial footing after economic abuse. So with CCSMD, we are working together because of our Allstate grant, and we will soon be launching a joint awareness campaign with the theme Economic Abuse is Intimate Partner Violence. So more information will be coming in the new year on that, and we want you to stay tuned. LAP. Oh, LAP. That's our lethality assessment program. This has been one of those kind of hair-pulling frustrations as we have worked with our federal funders at an excruciatingly slow pace, but the finish line is in sight. Our LAP 2.0 curriculum has now officially been approved by the Office of Violence Against Women. Yay! And in January, we will launch a paid subscription service for LAP training and TA for non-Maryland states. We hope that by creating this fee-for-service model for LAP, that this program will become self-sufficient and no longer grant dependent. Now, no worries, LAP will always remain free for Maryland, and our state will benefit from the new curriculum, the updated screening tool, the new online database, and statewide retraining that is to come. Thanks for being patient with us. It was important for us to get it right. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. This was part of our deep dive. We took a hard look internally about how MNADV lives the values of DEI. We have taken the time to do work with our board, work with our staff, and examine our policies and procedures to be sure that we are authentically working towards the model of service that we profess. This is a never-ending process. Just like continuing education or cutting-edge research, we are always learning and growing into a better ways of doing our work with an anti-racist intersectional lens. In this next year, we plan to bring more of these conversations to the field at large, creating opportunities for advocates of color and white allies to learn how to evolve our work to meet the needs of all survivors, even those who are most marginalized. And meeting the needs of survivors requires us to use the principles of DEI with our staff first. We want to deepen our support for programs to do this same work so that we can all be the change that we want to see in the world. Abuser intervention programming. MNADV is currently in the process of hiring our first ever abuser intervention program administrator. We know that serving survivors is only one part of the solution to ending domestic violence. Coordinated, consistent, evidence-based treatment for folks that use violence is imperative if we ever want to prevent repeat violence. In this next year, we hope to increase the collaborative efforts of the multidisciplinary entities that play a role in AIP programming in our state. This segment of our field has not been able to evolve in the ways that it wants because there hasn't been that staffed central coordinating body. MNADV hopes to fill this role. Closely related is primary prevention. If we don't shift to primary prevention work, meaning stopping violence before it happens, we will never work ourselves out of a job like we always say we want to do. MNADV will be applying for a Delta grant from the Centers for Disease Control, which if funded would allow the coalition to have staff dedicated to primary prevention specific training, technical assistance, and policy work for our state. We know that there is amazing prevention work being done by our member programs already, and we want to elevate that work and bring greater resources, research, and replication to the state. So fingers crossed, people, send your good mojo our way for funding. We desperately want to move into the prevention field. And last, but definitely not least, actually probably the most important, coalition building. I'm going to bring us back to where we started, because at the heart, MNADV is a coalition. We are as strong as the input and support of our members and partner organizations. In order to identify and execute the possibilities ahead, we have to be in close conversation with the field we represent. In this next year, we plan to revamp our program directors' meetings and host a retreat for our domestic violence service providers. We will form time-limited work groups that will help advance areas in the field that programs have been asking for. I plan to visit each of our core DVSPs to better understand the needs and challenges that each agency has. And in general, we plan to create a space where we as a field can proactively plan for our future instead of always reacting to what crisis comes our way. We need to renew our connections with each other, our interactions with each other, better recognize our interdependence with each other. All of us together are collectively the safety net for survivors. We must strengthen our ties with one another. The health and safety of survivors depends on it. Okay, so enough from me, right? I hope you can tell that I'm excited and a little fired up. I'm enjoying the work that we're doing here, and I hope that you are too. This is truly an amazing and inspiring field of work and practice. None of us would be here if we didn't believe that, and if we didn't have a drive to make the world a better place. So before I turn this back over to Lucaine, I'm going to make an ask. Yep, I'm going to make an ask, and that is to please join us. If you like what you've heard so far, either about what we've accomplished or where we're going, if you believe that a strong coalition benefits programs and survivors, if you have dreams for the coalition, what it could be or should be, please get involved. Renew your membership, serve on our board, say yes when we might ask you to join a committee or a work group. Come to the meetings and the trainings we host. Invest in our monthly giving program that we will launch by the end of the year. Help us be the coalition we all want and deserve. Thank you. Lucaine.
Thank you, Jen.
Either I'll go on, or you better you better bring the hook right now. So I'm part of that.
Yes, I feel like jumping out of my seat. Thank you so much, Jen. And now we will move to honor our peers who continue to dedicate their careers to end intimate partner violence in Maryland. And it's exciting to first introduce our Community Partners Award. The award recipient has a demonstrated track record as a community member who has provided exceptional support to the domestic violence community. And this year's Community Partners Award recipient is Sandy Washington. I'll just tell you a little bit about Sandy, and then Sandy will take a couple of minutes to talk and accept her award. So Ms. Washington is receiving this award because, according to her peers, she has worked tirelessly for many years to provide numerous services for all of Southern Maryland. She has a central office with staff that provide dedicated services, including Rosemary's Closet, 2 domestic violence safe homes for women, and also 1 shelter for men. Sandy goes above and beyond, even if it's in the middle of the night or the weekend. She works with empathy and often says it's a hand up and not a handout. Miss Sandy Washington has also worked and lived in the Southern Maryland community for over 37 years. She has addressed the needs of survivors during that time. She is a wife, a mother of 3 girls, a grandmother of 11, and a great-grandmother of 3. How do you find the time, Sandy? And in 1998, she co-founded Lifestyles of Maryland Foundation, Inc., whose mission is to empower people and assist in providing a better quality of life through social awareness and community development. I now present to you Sandy Washington.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What an honor and an unexpected honor this is. I certainly appreciate it. We have wonderful partners in our community that work tirelessly. And this is all I can say is this is an honor to be recognized like this. And the recognition, I think, is certainly not just for me and my staff and our board members and volunteers. It's a recognition for the people that we serve. It's so important that we continue to raise awareness and know that out there, there's somebody that's seeking help, that wants help, and may not be willing to reach out for it. So anytime we have opportunities like this and a chance to get this information out to the community, I don't think it's for the person that's being honored so much as it is for us raising awareness in our community for people that are hurting and know that we're there when they need us. I thank you for recognizing our organization and myself for this partnership. And as I was listening, I was getting, you get pumped about what's happening. And I know how much your organization has done for training our staff, for the awareness that you've brought to us to allow us to serve over 14,000 people a year. And all of the training that you provide for us and the technical assistance has allowed us to go into this feeling equipped to be there for our community. So on behalf of our community, our board, and for those that nominated us, I love you, Fern and Rosemary, and all of the folks that are a part of this. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sandy. Let's show Sandy some love. If you know how to do the reactions, you can also do it. People can see you. Raise your hands. Okay, thank you so much, Sandy. Next, we have the David Sargent Lethality Assessment Program Award, which is also known as the LAP Award. And recipients of this award are recognized for their hard work and dedication to the coordination and implementation of LAP. We are honored this year to present this award to Jennifer Holkoff. Please let me know if I butchered your name, Jennifer. She has been a nurse for 19 years, and during that time, she's worked in the burn ICU and also as a traveling nurse in Baltimore, Harford, and Cecil County hospitals. Jennifer has been with Christiana Care, Union Hospital as an ED nurse, a maternity nurse, and a forensic nurse coordinator. And on top of that, she has found time to be a lab coordinator as well as a forensic nurse at Harford Memorial Hospital. She is passionate about working with survivors or patients who have experienced sexual violence and intimate partner violence. In her free time, she enjoys spending time with her 4 kids and husband in all of their various sports, dance, art, youth group, karate, and church. And now I present to you, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. I almost missed that I was receiving this award. I happened to check my email at work the other day and saw that I was getting it. It was very unexpected because I feel like I play such a small part in our community LAP program. It's really a huge team effort between law enforcement, all the nursing staff and the administration, and our advocacy center and child advocacy center. It's really just a huge team effort, and Lena and Darrell have been really helpful over the past couple of years with COVID, supporting just the program and all my many questions and just pestering them for the training and updates. Everybody's been really supportive. So thank you very much for this award. I feel like I'm just a small part. So I'm very honored to accept this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do. And also lots of people in the chat are praising you and congratulating you as well. And so now we move to the Domestic Violence Advocate Award. And for this award, the recipient has demonstrated a track record as a staff member or volunteer at an organization that provides direct services to victim survivors. And this person usually goes above and beyond the job description to make a difference. This award will be presented by Amanda Katz.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here to honor my colleague, Hila. Hila is our manager of clinical operations, and in her role, she not only leads Jakeda's team of clinicians, but she serves on Jakeda's leadership team as well. Hila is like a hub of information, not only for the largest department in our agency, but for the entire agency. In her leadership role, she actively works with clients, manages departmental referrals and caseloads, and expertly guides her team with her partner, Andrea. Together, the two of them support their phenomenal team of clinicians with wisdom, kindness, and exceptional competence. Hila is a creative problem solver who regularly identifies areas for improvement and implements positive change. Her willingness to support all her colleagues in all ways, emotional, logistic, and technical help, is inspiring. Her clients rave about her trauma-informed care, her compassion, and her ability to make them feel truly supported. Hila also received her yoga instructor certification this year, and she immediately set up free sessions for clients and one for staff. Her teaching is truly a gift to all who participate. When asked about her co-manager, Hila, Andrea responded and sent me this. Hila's spirit is ever gentle and compassionate. At the same time, she's able to communicate and speak assertively to move our team and Jakeda forward. She unifies our clinical team by finding creative ways of connecting with us through group chats and virtual event sessions at week's end. Our team knows that she's always there to support and help us when we have a question or concern, and she will go out of her way to talk with us. She is patient, understanding, humble, and strong, and I couldn't ask for a better partner. We are so blessed to have this beautiful teammate working at Jakeda, and we are so thrilled that we have been chosen to be able to have the honor to give this award to Hila.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm truly honored and I'm humbled to be nominated and to be here to receive this award. Thank you for this opportunity. And thank you for Jakeda, for Amanda, for you, for your guidance. And thank you for Jennifer Hirsch, which is not here. I want to thank my old supervisor, Rachel Schwartz. She also had a big role in this. Andrea, my co-manager, which I love and appreciate. I want to thank my amazing colleagues, and the constant support in this line of work makes all the difference. And I want to thank my husband and kids who balance and ground me. And special thanks to my mom, my brother. I saw my mother-in-law is even here. Everyone's joining from Israel. I love you and I'm grateful for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think part of being an advocate really requires problem solving. So, and you know, marry that with compassion. And it sounds like you have all of those things, Hila. Thank you so much for all that you've done. And so now we will move forward with our next award. And this award is the Leadership Award. And it's given to a recipient who has demonstrated track record and successes in leading statewide, regional, or community-based systems advocacy efforts. And these efforts often aim to improve the response to domestic violence and also work toward the elimination of domestic violence. And this year's recipient was selected by her peers for being committed to helping victims and survivors of domestic violence and offering all her free time to do so. She is described as an incredible asset to the field of domestic violence in Maryland. We are proud to present the Leadership Award, to Dr. Lillian Agbeyegbe, who has been actively engaged in the domestic violence field in Maryland for the past 9 years. She has been a member of the Governor's Family Violence Council since 2015. She has co-chaired the Healthy Teen Dating work group and the Abuse Intervention Program work group. She chairs the Survivor Advocacy Council Work Group. Dr. Agbeyegbe has been a member of the Howard County Coalition to Prevent Intimate Partner Violence since 2014 and has volunteered with Court Watch Montgomery since 2014. She has provided health education awareness, training to faith communities, and provided intimate partner violence training for the Nigerian American Lawyers Association and the National Association of Nigerian Nurses of North America. Lillian has also served on the board of MNADV, and she serves from 2017 to 2019 and has been an adjunct faculty at Bowie State University for several years, teaching a graduate class in domestic violence crisis counseling. And we now present to you Dr. Lillian Agbeyegbe. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Lucan. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence for this award. You know, every time I hear somebody say, men also suffer from domestic violence, they just don't report. And I have to say, well, not all women who suffer from domestic violence report as well. I say to myself, why do we have men or women victims? Why don't we have communities that are intimate partner violence free? Every time I hear somebody say, why did they stay? Why didn't they just leave? I say to myself, why should somebody enter a loving relationship and then get to a point where the best option they have is to flee the situation? Intimate partner violence is a preventable public health issue, and public health advocates that it be addressed using a social ecological model. And so over these years, I've worked with community members, faith communities, professional communities, legislators, going into the community, doing health education, awareness events, working to put out the Healthy Teen Dating Guide, working to standardize the Abusers Intervention Programs certification, and now working on the Survivor Work Group to ensure that we are getting meaningful survivor engagement here in the state of Maryland. I'd like to thank everybody out there in the community that works with me, my fellow board members, my fellow council members, my fellow stakeholders. I'd like to thank all of the people who take their time to schedule this event, my family and friends that I have begged endlessly to donate to organizations that are providing domestic violence services here in the state of Maryland. Finally, I'd like to thank my daughter, Torisha, to whom I'm dedicating this award. You know, Torisha was 2 when I started my doctoral studies, and I will put her in bed and then go and be reading my work. After like an hour, I kid you not, I will just see these tiny creatures coming up to me, and she will say, "Mommy, are you done?" And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, you're not sleeping." Well, Torisha, I wasn't done then, and I'm not done now. And I will not be done until we have communities that are free of intimate partner violence. And so I thank you, Torisha, for giving me the time to continue to do this work. Thank you to Rebecca from the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services for nominating me for this award. All of us at the Family Violence Council know that we would not be anywhere if we didn't have the support of Rebecca. So I appreciate being here, and thank you. Jen, I'm really excited about all the outlook for the network going forward and all the phenomenal staff and all the important work that you do in this state. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. And yes, indeed, it is a community issue. And now we move forward to more awards. And in fact, this is our last award, but not least. The Outstanding Achievement Award recognizes a person's dedication to ending domestic violence. A demonstrated track record of outstanding achievement in advocacy, organizing, and tireless service has allowed this person to plant the seeds of significant change in the lives of survivors, as well as change the landscape of domestic violence related systems in Maryland. And this year's Outstanding Achievement Award goes to Jaya Nelliot. She is an Ayurvedic practitioner and holistic coach. She started volunteering with Ashiana in 2009 as an advocate, and now is a board member and the outreach director. And I just want to also point out that almost all the staff at Ashiana are volunteers. Her peers mentioned that she is being honored for her outstanding culturally sensitive advocacy that empowered survivors. She has fostered path-breaking understanding with communities and diverse groups in Maryland, educating students and others on the varying facets of domestic violence, and initiated partnerships with various agencies in Maryland. Jaya created and implemented in-depth training programs for Ashiana advocates and volunteers with culturally specific guidelines. Training sessions are also conducted by her for first responders, such as law enforcement and other mainstream social service organizations in Maryland. She is a grounded visionary, and her approach is holistic, factoring in the intersectionality of forces and interpersonal violence. She never gives up. Hope is her second name. Her drive and initiative kept Ashiana's domestic violence program vibrant and meaningful all through the difficult pandemic period. She has worked to give the South Asian community a voice and has the survivors' voice heard within the community. We now present to you Jaya Nelliot. Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm sorry. As you can see, I'm quite overwhelmed by this great honor, but I have to be very honest. I am just a really tiny, small cog in the wheel. I'm driven, I'm guided and inspired by the scores of people who are around me. My colleagues at Ashiana, we have a working board, and like Lucan mentioned earlier, we are all volunteers. This working board working literally 365 days of the year, 24/7. And then our dedicated staff, our very passionate volunteers, and most importantly, our courageous survivors who continue to rise from trauma to regenerate, excuse me, their lives and the lives of their children. This is where I draw my strength from. And also the 5 women in 1989 who started Asha for Women. And now, of course, we are Ashiana. These 5 women, career women at the kitchen table, started Asha for Women. Asha, as you may know, is hope, to provide hope and services for their sisters impacted by domestic violence and their children. Their work was immeasurable, is immeasurable, and their spirit is alive today within me and each one of us who is associated with Ashiana. I would also like to thank all our sister organizations, all the partners, the service providers who are there with us every step of the way. And hopefully very soon we will eradicate this scourge to humanity that exists in the world. This honor from you, all of you, I pass on to all the people who work side by side with me and the people we serve. Thank you so much. And Jennifer, we are so excited to be on this path with you, the new path of MNADV. Go MNADV. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am always moved by the words of the recipients every year, and I promise you I get chills. I want to cry. So thank you so much for all of your hard work and dedication. I think, you know, you've all said it, and we cannot say it enough. And as you can see in the chat, many of your supporters and other folks are really proud of you. Thank you. And so let us send some love to our award recipients for one last time. Thank you to those who joined us from afar. You know, you can do your little, you could do the heart, you could do whatever you want to do. Let's just show them lots of love and send positive and healing energy towards them. May you continue to be visionaries and advocates. May you continue to have a wonderful community like your families, help you stay grounded in your work as well. And so now I want to turn it back to Jen, who will close us out and give thank yous to everybody else who deserves it, especially our sponsors. And thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, Lucane. It's hard to follow all of that amazingness, right, that we just heard about. And that is who we are. This is the coalition. This is who together propels us into the future. And we are honored to be in each other's presence. And yes, we need to celebrate this more because our jobs are hard. And this gives, at least for me, it gives me a little inoculation over the daily frustrations to be reminded about why we do this and that we're doing it together. Next year, we do plan to hold our annual meeting in person, granted that it is safe to do so because it just needs fuller celebration than we're able to do in a short time online. But thank you so much for being with us and helping us honor those who have worked so hard to provide safety and healing to survivors. I want to take some special, give some special thanks to our sponsors, including Ohana Link Technologies, the National Coalition for Sexual Freedom, First Baptist Church of Glenarden, Advocates Working for Victims in Crisis, their Silent Witness program, and Montgomery County Commission for Women. These folks have made this event possible, and we thank you for your support. And we thank each one of you for joining us this evening and for all that you contribute to making this world a better place. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.